Hi, this is Mike Bonfrisco, and welcome to this episode of 2 Minutes with Mike. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about my two uncles and the concept of investor suitability. So here's a funny thing. I was talking to my Uncle Lou about a month or so ago, and we were catching up and reminiscing, and he was talking about his retirement with my aunt and how good things were going, actually. And he was proud of the fact that his income from Social Security and a pension was enough so they could live very comfortably in retirement. They could travel, they could spend time with their family, they could do all the things they wanted to do, and they didn't even have to touch their investments. So he was in great shape. So then he said to me, with our investments, what I did was I just put them in CDs at the local bank, and what I like about that is I can't lose my money. I know that I'm only making 1 or 2% return, but what's important to me is that I don't want to lose my money. Mike, he said, I don't want to take on any risk, because I figure that this money is going to go to the grandkids, and I want to make sure that they get it because I worked hard for it. And it made sense to me because he was living off of his income and they were comfortable and they didn't have any debt. So it sounded good. It wasn't until I talked to my other uncle last week that it occurred to me something quite interesting. My other uncle Willie, who had moved out west, he was living comfortably too with his wife, and they were retired and living on Social Security income and pension income, and they were proud that they didn't have to spend their investments or savings either. And so what he said to me was he had his money in the market, and he knew that there'd be ups and downs, but he understood that he would, over the long term, get a better return, and that he had seen that over the long term he might make a 7, 8, 9, 10% long-term return, and he figured that money would be good for his kids and grandkids. And so he was excited about the idea of leaving them more. He wasn't as worried about the short-term risk. He was thinking about the long-term benefit to his family. What was interesting is when he said it would be different, Mike, if I needed the money to live on, because then I wouldn't be able to take on this risk. It would be different, he said, if I needed the money to live on, because I would be worried about losing it. And then I might do something different. But what was really funny to me, what was interesting to me, was that they had basically the same fact pattern. They both were living on their income, they both were comfortable, they both were satisfied with their retirement, and they didn't need their investments to live on. And they both were going to leave the investments to their children. But they had a completely different investing strategy. The funny thing is, the investing strategy was the right one for each of them. There isn't a right or wrong way to go. You have to match the investor with their comfort level, their suitability, what they're comfortable with, because they need to be able to sleep at night. Now, this is one of the most important things that I do with my clients. When I sit down with a client, we make sure that their suitability matches their comfort level. And they understand how far the portfolio could go down in the short term, and they understand what their expectations would be. And this way we have an investor or a client who has a better sense of peace of mind about what the future might look like. Well, thanks for joining me for this episode of 2 Minutes with Mike.